My name is Oliver Chen. I'm 25 years old. And I just moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn with a roommate I'd found on a roommate matching app. We'd met once before signing the lease a quick coffee to make sure neither of us was a serial killer, and he'd seemed normal enough. Quiet, professional, worked in finance. Kept to himself. What he hadn't mentioned was that he woke up at 5 a.m. every single day. I lay in bed listening to the sounds. Drifting through the apartment, the coffee maker gurgling, the shower running, what sounded like weights being moved around. All of this happening at an hour I'd previously believed was still nighttime. I tried to go back to sleep, but it was impossible. The apartment was small enough that even his quietest movements created sound. Now that I was awake, I was aware of every creak and thump. At 5:45, there was a knock on my door. "Yeah." I called out, voice rough with sleep. Ethan opened the door slightly. "Hey, I'm really sorry if I woke you." I tried to be quiet. "It's fine," I lied. "I leave for work around 6:30, so the apartment should be quiet after that. I just wanted to check in since it's your first morning."
Nice.
He disappeared, and I heard the sounds of breakfast being made. By 6:15, my curiosity got the better of me. I got up and wandered into the kitchen. Ethan was sitting at our small dining table, dressed in a perfectly pressed suit, eating what looked like an elaborate breakfast of eggs, avocado toast, and fruit. He was reading something on his phone, completely absorbed. "Morning," I said. He looked up, and I got my first real look at my new roommate in natural light. He was objectively attractive tall, maybe 6'1", with dark hair styled professionally, sharp cheekbones, and these intense blue eyes that were currently looking at me with mild concern. "Did I wake you?" "I'm sorry." "No, it's fine. I'm just not used to mornings. I gathered that from our first meeting." He smiled slightly. "You mentioned you work from home, right?" "Graphic design." "Yeah. Which means my schedule is more like midnight to 3 a.m. as productive time, and mornings are for sleeping. Opposite schedules, then. That might actually work well for the apartment." "Maybe. What time do you normally go to bed?" "Around 9:30, 10 at the latest." I stared at him. "That's when I usually start working. It's going to be interesting." Despite the scheduling clash, the first week wasn't terrible. I'd go to sleep around 4 a.m., wake up around noon, work through the afternoon and evening. Ethan would be up at 5 a.m., gone by 6:30. Home around 6 p.m., dinner by 7. Asleep by 10. We barely saw each other except for brief encounters in the kitchen or living room. But I couldn't stop thinking about his morning routine, not in a creepy way, more in a fascinated way. He had this precise, almost meditative quality to his mornings that I'd never seen before. Everything was deliberate and intentional. The coffee made just so. The breakfast prepared with care. The workout, I'd discovered he had a set of weights and a yoga mat in his room that he used every morning. Even the way he got dressed seemed purposeful. I, by contrast, was chaos. I worked in my pajamas, ate at random hours. Couldn't remember the last time I'd done anything resembling exercise, and generally lived like a college student despite being 2 years out of school. By the end of the second week, I'd started waking up earlier, not intentionally, but because I'd become attuned to the sounds of Ethan's routine. The coffee maker at 5:15, the shower at 5:30, the weights at 5:45. It was like living with the world's most disciplined human being. One morning, about 3 weeks into living together, gave up on sleep entirely and wandered into the kitchen at 5:30. Ethan was making breakfast. Dressed in workout clothes, his hair still wet from the shower. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up from his eggs. "Your routine is weirdly hypnotic. I keep waking up to it." "I'm sorry. I've tried to be quieter." "No, it's not that. It's just, I struggled to articulate it. You're so organized. It's fascinating." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I felt suddenly self-conscious in my rumpled sleep clothes and bedhead. "You think my routine is fascinating?" In a clinical, observational way, like watching a documentary about a species with completely different habits. He laughed, a genuine warm sound that transformed his usually serious face. I've never been compared to a nature documentary before. First time for everything. Want coffee? I always make extra. Sure. He poured me a cup perfectly made, the right temperature, even remembering from some previous conversation that I took it with milk and sugar. How do you remember that? I asked. Remember what? How I take my coffee? We've only had coffee together once, when we first met. I pay attention to details. It's part of my job. What exactly do you do in finance? Risk analysis. I look at data, identify patterns, predict potential problems before they happen. That explains the routine. You've probably optimized every morning to minimize time waste. Guilty. I know it's a bit excessive. It's impressive, actually. I can barely manage to eat breakfast most days. Why not? I don't know. I just wake up well when I wake up, which is usually noon, and I'm immediately focused on work. Food seems like an interruption. He frowned slightly. That's not sustainable. I've been doing it for 2 years. It doesn't make it healthy. There was something almost protective in his tone that made me look at him more closely. He was serious about this, genuinely concerned about my eating habits despite having known me for less than a month. I'm fine, I said. Okay, but he didn't look convinced. That morning, Ethan left at 6:30 as usual, but when I wandered into the kitchen around 1 p.m., I found a plate covered in foil with a note, made extra breakfast. Just heat it up. It was a simple gesture. Leftover scrambled eggs and toast, but it made something warm bloom in my chest. No one had made me breakfast in years. I heated it up and ate it, and it was delicious in that way, simple. Well-made food always is when someone else prepares it for you. That night, when Ethan came home, I was in the kitchen making dinner for once instead of ordering takeout. You're cooking, he observed. Surprised. Figured I should return the favor from this morning. Hope you like pasta. I love pasta. We ate together at the dining table, a first for us. Usually, we ate at different times or in our respective rooms. But that night, we sat across from each other and talked. I learned that Ethan was 27, had moved to New York from Chicago 2 years ago, was the youngest of 3 siblings, and had a strangely encyclopedic knowledge of coffee. He learned that I was from California, had studied graphic design at NYU, was trying to build a freelance career, and had an embarrassing number of houseplants that I kept forgetting to water. How many houseplants? He asked. 12. Well, 8 now. 4 didn't make it through the move. That's a lot of plants. I keep thinking they'll make the apartment feel more homey, but mostly they just make me feel guilty when I forget to water them. I could help with that. Watering plants could be part of my morning routine. You don't have to do that. But I have the time, and it sounds like you need the help. Are you always this helpful to people you barely know? He considered that. No, actually. But you're easy to help. What does that mean? It means you're not demanding or entitled. You're grateful for small gestures. It makes me want to do more. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just smiled and changed the subject. But something had shifted between us that night. We weren't just roommates anymore. We were becoming friends over the next few weeks. A new pattern emerged. I'd wake up around 5:45, still ridiculously early by my standards. But I'd adjusted to Ethan's routine enough that I couldn't sleep through it anymore. I'd shuffle into the kitchen where Ethan would have coffee ready, and we'd sit together in comfortable silence while he ate his breakfast, and I slowly woke up. It became my favorite part of the day. There was something peaceful about those early morning moments. The city was still mostly quiet, the apartment was calm, and Ethan's presence was steady and reassuring. He never demanded conversation if I wasn't ready for it. He just existed comfortably in the space, and I learned to do the same. You're up early again, Ethan, observed one morning after I'd been maintaining the schedule for 2 weeks. Your routine has infected me. I think I'm becoming a morning person against my will. How does it feel? Weird, but not terrible. I'm actually getting more work done during the day now. It's good. It is. Though I'm going to bed at like 11 p.m. now, which feels deeply wrong. Welcome to being a responsible adult. I hate it. No, you don't. I was right. I didn't hate it. In fact, I was thriving on this new schedule. My work was better. I felt more energized. And I was actually eating regular meals instead of just snacking whenever I remembered. But the real reason I kept waking up early was, Ethan, I'd started to look forward to our morning coffee. Sessions with an intensity that probably wasn't normal for roommates. I noticed things about him: the way he hummed while making breakfast, the way his hair would still be slightly damp from his shower, the way he'd roll his shoulders when he was tight from his workout. This was becoming a problem. "You okay?" Ethan asked one morning, catching me staring. "Yeah, just tired. You sure?" "You've been distracted lately. Just work stress." I was lying. The truth was, I was developing feelings for my roommate, and I had no idea what to do about it. It started small, noticing how attractive he was, appreciating his kindness, looking forward to seeing him. But over weeks of sharing mornings and dinners, of learning his routines and habits, of becoming genuinely comfortable with each other, it had grown into something more. I was falling for Ethan Cole, and it was terrifying. One evening in late October, about 2 months into living together, I was working in my room when I heard Ethan come home. Usually, he'd go straight to the kitchen to make dinner. But this time I heard him go directly to his room and close the door. After 20 minutes of silence, I got worried. I knocked on his door. "Ethan, you okay?" "Yeah, fine." But his voice sounded off. I opened the door slightly and saw him sitting on his bed, still in his work clothes, looking exhausted and stressed. "You don't look fine." "Rough day at work. My boss is demanding I work this weekend on a major analysis that should have been a team project. And I'm just messing up the usually perfect style. I'm tired. Have you eaten?" "No." "Okay, give me 30 minutes. I went to the kitchen and made dinner. Nothing fancy. Just the pasta dish I'd made before that he'd liked. When it was ready, I knocked on his door again. "Come eat." Emerged looking slightly better, like the break from his own head had helped. We ate in silence at first, but gradually he started talking about his day, about the pressure at work, about feeling like he could never do enough. "You're allowed to be human," I told him. "You can't be perfectly optimized every single day." So that's the problem, though. My routine, my structure, that's what keeps me functioning. If I let it slip, everything falls apart. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's the only way I know how to be. What if you tried being a little less structured? Just once? See what happens? He looked at me like I'd suggested he'd jump off a building. I can't. Why not? Because... He struggled to articulate it. Because chaos is terrifying. Having a routine, having control over my environment, that's what makes me feel safe. The vulnerability in that admission made my chest tight. "Okay, but Ethan, you're allowed to have bad days. You're allowed to not be perfect. I'll keep that in mind." After dinner, instead of retreating to his room like usual, Ethan stayed in the living room. We ended up watching a movie together, a first for us. He fell asleep halfway through, his head dropping onto my shoulder. I should have woken him up, suggested he go to bed properly. Instead, I stayed very still, letting him sleep, acutely aware of every point of contact between us. When the movie ended, I gently shook his shoulder. "Hey, movie's over?" He woke up disoriented, realized he'd been sleeping on me, and immediately pulled back. "Sorry, I didn't mean to, it's fine." "You were exhausted. Thanks for dinner. And for, being patient with me today. It's what friends do. Are we friends?" The question surprised me. "Yeah, I think we are." "Aren't we?" I guess I wasn't sure. "We're roommates, but I didn't know if that automatically meant friendship. Well, I make dinner for you and you make me breakfast. We watch movies together and talk about our days. That seems like friendship to me." He smiled, genuine and warm. "Good, I'm glad we're friends. Me too." But as he went to his room and I went to mine, I thought about that word, friends. It felt simultaneously accurate and completely inadequate for what I was feeling. November brought colder weather and an unexpected development. Ethan's routine started including me. It began with him asking if I wanted to join his morning workout. "It's just basic stuff," he said. "Weights, some yoga. Might help with your posture from sitting at a desk all day." My posture is fine. Oliver, you sit hunched over your laptop like a gargoyle. Your posture is terrible. That's rude, but probably accurate. So, want to try it? I agreed, mostly because the idea of spending more time with Ethan was appealing, even if it involved exercise at an ungodly hour. The first morning was torture. Ethan's basic stuff was actually quite challenging, and I was embarrassingly out of shape. But he was patient, showing me proper form, encouraging me without being condescending. "You're doing great," he said, as I struggled through a set of push-ups. "I'm dying. You're building strength. It gets easier when... In about 3 months, I hate you." But I didn't hate it, actually. Working out with Ethan became another part of our routine, another thing we did together. And I couldn't deny that I liked how it felt to move my body, to build strength, to have Ethan's attention focused on me for that 30 minutes each morning. By mid-November, my schedule had fully synced with his. I was waking up at 5:45, working out with him, having coffee and breakfast together, working through the day, and then having dinner together most evenings. We're like an old married couple, my friend Tessa observed when I told her about my new routine during our weekly video call. Roommates, roommates, who have breakfast together every morning, work out together, and eat dinner together most nights. Oliver, that's basically dating without the sex. It's not like that. Are you sure? Because you've been talking about Ethan nonstop for the past month? Talk about lots of things. One thing you've told me about recently that wasn't related to Ethan or your routine with Ethan or something Ethan said? Couldn't. "Oh my God," Tessa said, her eyes widening on the screen. "You're in love with him." "I'm not." "You absolutely are. Look at your face right now. You're blushing." "Not in love with him. I just appreciate him as a roommate and friend. And I'm the Queen of England." After that call, I couldn't stop thinking about what Tessa had said. Was I in love with Ethan? That seemed like a strong word, but I couldn't deny that my feelings had intensified significantly over the past few months. I thought about him constantly. I looked forward to our mornings together more than anything else in my day. I noticed everything about him, the way he smiled when I made a joke, the way he'd absently touch my arm when making a point, the way he looked at me sometimes with an expression I couldn't quite read. Okay, maybe I was a little bit in love with him. The problem was I had no idea if he felt the same way. He was affectionate in a friendly way, but that didn't necessarily mean anything. He could just be a tactile person. Or maybe he saw me as a younger friend he was helping get his life together. I needed to know if there was any possibility of him feeling the same way. But I had no idea how to find out without risking our friendship and our living situation. One morning in late November, about a week before Thanksgiving, Ethan asked if I had plans for the holiday. "Probably just staying here," I said. "My family is in California, and flights are expensive this time of year. You're spending Thanksgiving alone? It's not a big deal. I'll order Chinese food and watch movies." He frowned. "Come to Chicago with me." "What? For Thanksgiving?" "Come meet my family." "It's better than being alone, Ethan. I can't crash your family Thanksgiving." "You're not crashing. I'm inviting you. Plus, my family is huge and chaotic. One more person won't make a difference, are you sure?" "Positive. Unless you genuinely prefer being alone, in which case I won't push. But if you're just being polite, then stop it. Come to Chicago." "Okay, thank you." "Don't thank me yet. You haven't met my family. They're a lot." The following week, we flew to Chicago together. On the plane, Ethan seemed nervous. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just... my family can be overwhelming. Lots of questions, lots of opinions. They're going to interrogate you about your life, your job, your intentions with their son. They're very protective, especially my mom. She's going to assume we're dating." My heart skipped. "Are you going to correct her?" Should I? There was something weighted in that question, like he was asking something more than the surface meaning. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Do you want to?" He held my gaze for a long moment. "I'm not sure." Neither of us elaborated. But the conversation hung between us for the rest of the flight and finished. and full of possibility. Ethan's family was exactly as advertised. Huge, chaotic, and immediately welcoming. His mother opened the door and pulled me into a hug before I'd even introduce myself. "You must be Oliver. Ethan's told us so much about you." "Come in! Come in!" His father was more reserved but friendly, shaking my hand and commenting on the weather. His two older sisters, Hannah and Sophie, were friendly and curious, asking about my work and how I was finding New York, but it was his grandmother who really put me on the spot. "So," she said during dinner, looking between Ethan and me with knowing eyes, "are you two together?" "Grandma," Ethan said, his face flushing. "Oliver is my roommate." Roommate, right? Is that what we're calling it these days? "We really are just roommates," I interjected, trying to help even though my own face was heating up. Ham? She clearly didn't believe us. "Well, roommate or not, you're good for him. He seems happier than he's been in years." After dinner, Ethan's mom pulled me aside while we were cleaning up. "I want to thank you," she said. "For what?" "For being a good friend to Ethan. He doesn't let people in easily. The fact that you two have become so close means he trusts you. That's significant. It's been really good for me too. Helped me get my life together. Honestly, it sounds like Ethan. He likes fixing things, organizing things, helping people optimize their lives." She smiled fondly. "But don't let him be too structured. He needs someone who can help him relax, who can remind him it's okay to be spontaneous sometimes. I'll try, and Oliver. If you do have feelings for my son, and I think you do, based on how you look at him, don't wait too long to tell him. Life's too short to waste time being cautious about love." I wanted to deny it, but her kind eyes made it impossible to lie. What if he doesn't feel the same way? "Trust me, he does. I've never seen him bring anyone home before. And the way he talks about you, the way he looks at you when he thinks no one's watching, that boy is smitten. He's just too scared to do anything about it." "Why would he be scared?" "Because he's terrified of losing control. Falling in love is the ultimate loss of control. You're giving someone power over your heart, your happiness, your routine. For someone like Ethan, who spent his whole life trying to maintain order and structure, that's terrifying. So what do? Be brave for both of you. Tell him how you feel. Give him permission to be vulnerable." That night, Ethan and I were sharing his childhood bedroom he'd offered to sleep on the couch. But his mom had insisted we could share the room like adults. There were two twin beds pushed against opposite walls, and we lay in the dark talking about the day. "Your family's great," I said. "They liked you." "My grandmother especially. She definitely thinks we're dating. She thinks everyone is dating. Last year she tried to set me up with the mailman." I laughed. "Your mom seems to think we're dating too." I noticed that. "Sorry if it made you uncomfortable." It didn't, actually. I took a breath, emboldened by the darkness and the distance between our beds. Would it be so terrible if we were? The silence stretched between us. Then Ethan said, "No, it wouldn't be terrible, but it would complicate things. We live together. We have a good routine. If we tried dating and it didn't work out, we'd figure it out. We're both adults. Is that what you want? To date me?" My heart was pounding. "I don't know, maybe. I just know that I like spending time with you. That I look forward to our mornings together more than anything else in my day. That when I think about my future, you're in it. I don't know if that's friendship or something more, but I think it might be something more. Oliver, you don't have to say anything. I just wanted to be honest. Because I've been feeling the same way, but I've been too scared to acknowledge it, let alone act on it." "Scared of what?" "Of messing up what we have. Of losing you. Of letting someone matter that much. What if we didn't mess it up? What if it actually worked? Is that a risk you're willing to take?" "Yeah," I said. "I think it is. Then we'll talk about this when we get back to New York, when we're home and can actually think clearly without my family breathing down our necks." "Okay, Oliver." "Yeah, thank you. For being brave enough to say something. Thank you for not completely shutting down the possibility." We fell asleep in our respective beds, but something fundamental had shifted between us. We'd acknowledged the possibility of more. There was no taking that back. The flight back to New York was filled with anticipation and nervous energy. We'd agreed to talk once we got home, but neither of us brought it up during the flight. It was like we both needed the safety of our apartment, our space, to have this conversation. Once we were home, we both busied ourselves with unpacking, making excuses to avoid the inevitable discussion. Finally, around 8 p.m., Ethan found me in the kitchen. "We should talk." He said, "Yeah, we should." We sat at the dining table, the same place we'd shared countless meals over the past 4 months. "I've been thinking about what you said in Chicago," Ethan started. "About your feelings, about taking a risk, and you're right. There's something here between us. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel it." My heart was racing. "So what do we do about it?" "I think we should try. Carefully, intentionally, but we should try." "Really?" "Really. But Oliver, we need to be smart about this. We live together. We have a routine that works. If we're going to date, we need to set some boundaries." "Right. Like what?" "Like we take things slowly. We don't rush into anything physical. We maintain some independence. Keep our own rooms, our own space. And if it's not working, we communicate that immediately, before resentment builds. Those all seem reasonable. And one more thing, we don't tell people until we're sure this is working. No need to complicate things with friend and family opinions if we're still figuring it out ourselves." "Okay, so we're doing this. We're dating?" "We're dating." I couldn't help the smile that spread across my face. "Can I kiss you?" "I thought you'd never ask." He leaned across the table and kissed me, soft and tentative at first, then deeper as we both relaxed into it. When we pulled apart, we were both grinning. "That was nice," Ethan said. "Very nice. Want to try it again?" "Definitely." We moved to the couch, kissing and talking and figuring out this new dynamic. It felt natural in a way that surprised me. Like this was just the next logical step in our relationship, rather than a dramatic shift. "I've wanted to do this for weeks," Ethan admitted between kisses. "Why didn't you say something?" "Because I'm a coward who overthinks everything." "You're not a coward. You're just careful." "That's a generous interpretation." "It's accurate." That night, we went to our separate rooms as planned, but everything felt different. We weren't just roommates anymore. We were actually dating, actually exploring this thing between us. The next morning, I woke up to Ethan's routine as usual, but this time, when I joined him in the kitchen. He kissed me good morning. "Is this going to be part of the routine now?" I asked. "If that's okay with you?" "Very okay." We fell back into our morning routine, but with added affection touches that lingered, smiles that meant something more. Casual intimacy that felt earned rather than rushed. "This is nice," I said as we ate breakfast together. "It really is." "I'm glad we're doing this." "Me too." Over the next few weeks, we navigated the newness of dating while living together. We went on actual dates, dinners out, movies, walks through the city. But we also maintained our established routine, the morning workouts and coffee and breakfast that had become the foundation of our relationship. "We're doing this backward," I observed one evening as we cooked dinner together. "Most people date first and then move in together. We moved in first and are now dating. Does it feel wrong?" "No, it feels perfect, actually. We already know we're compatible in daily life. Now we're just adding romance to it. Efficient," Ethan said with a smile. "Very on brand for you." In early December, about 2 weeks into officially dating, we took our first major step. I stayed in his room instead of mine, nothing physical beyond kissing and cuddling. We were still taking things slow, but the intimacy of sharing a bed, of falling asleep and waking up next to each other, felt significant. "I like this," Ethan murmured as we lay in bed, my head on his chest. "Me too." Was it weird that it doesn't feel weird? Not at all. I think we were kind of already in a relationship before we acknowledged it. This just makes it official. I've never had a relationship that felt this easy. "Is right. What do you mean?" "I mean, my previous relationships were always work, constantly negotiating, constantly trying to fit together. But with you, it's just ... natural. Like you already knew me before we even lived together." and you accepted all of it. That's because your morning routine gave me a comprehensive look into your soul, I joked. Can't hide much when you wake someone up at 5 a.m. every day. He laughed and pulled me closer. Best accidental morning disruption ever? Definitely. In mid-December, we decided it was time to tell people we were dating. Tessa was first. I called her during one of my afternoon work breaks. I have news, I said when she answered. You're dating Ethan. How did you, Oliver? I called this months ago. I'm just glad you finally figured it out. How long, officially? About 3 weeks. But we've been dancing around it since November. I'm happy for you. He's good for you. He really is, Ethan told his family next, calling them on speakerphone with me sitting next to him for moral support. We wanted to let you know that Oliver and I are dating, he said. Have been for a few weeks now. Finally, his grandmother's voice came through loud and clear. I told you they were together at Thanksgiving. Grandma was right, his mother added warmly. We're so happy for you both. His sisters immediately bombarded him with questions about when we'd gotten together. What changed, whether we were still living together? Yes. And when we'd visit again, so they could properly celebrate. Ethan said apologetically after we hung up. We're supportive. That's what matters. The holidays brought a new dimension to our relationship. We decorated the apartment together another first, since neither of us had bothered when we were just roommates. We bought a small tree and hung lights, and Ethan insisted on those weird icicle decorations that I thought were tacky, but agreed to anyway, because it made him happy. Our first Christmas together. I said as we stepped back to admire our work. Technically our first Christmas as a couple. We were together last Christmas, just not dating. Fair point. On Christmas Eve, we exchanged gifts. I'd gotten Ethan a high-end yoga mat to replace his worn-out one. Plus a book about optimizing morning routines as a joke, but he actually loved it. He'd gotten me a professional-grade graphics tablet for my design work and a plant care guide so your remaining houseplants might survive. I love it, I said, genuinely touched. How did you even know what tablet to get? I researched, asked a few designers online what they'd recommend. Wanted to make sure it was actually useful. That's incredibly thoughtful. You're important to me. I wanted to get it right. That night, we stayed up late talking about the year, how it had started with us as strangers, evolved into roommates, then friends, and finally partners. How Ethan's morning routine, the thing that had initially annoyed me, had become the foundation of our relationship. I love your routine, I told him. I know I complained about it at first, but it's become my favorite part of every day. Waking up and knowing you'll be there, coffee ready, just existing together before the day gets chaotic. Love that you joined me in it. I've had this routine for years, but it's better with you in it. We're disgustingly domestic. We really are. I love it. 22 January brought a challenge. Ethan's company wanted to send him to London for a 6-week project. 6 weeks, he said when he subscribed to my channel.